My name is Imogene Johnson, and I was 27 when I bought my first house. You'd think that would feel like fireworks, a cork popping, a kiss on the forehead, or at least a photo of the keys under good lighting. For me, it was the hush of a hallway and my own breath echoing against a beige foyer. 2 bedrooms, a fixer-upper, keys that still smelled like WD-40. I stood there with the afternoon sun in a slant on the floorboards and thought, no witnesses. Maybe that was for the best. By then, I'd already traded most of my 20s for elbow grease. HVAC apprentice by day, bar back at night, and side gigs patching angry AC units on weekends. While my older sister Ava was being flown to Cancun because med school stress is so real, I was under a crawl space with a headlamp, coaxing a corroded valve to forgive the last decade. The thing about work is it teaches you what matters. The thing about family is it teaches you where you stand. When I told my parents I'd closed, my mother said, "Oh." My father followed with, "Don't buy anything you can't maintain. Taxes creep." Not even a proud of you, just warnings, like I hadn't been budgeting every nickel since I was 18. In our family, Ava was the golden child. I was the utility player. "Can you help us lift this real quick, sis?" The joke was old. My role was older. So I didn't offer the address. Not to be secretive, just to let the house be mine long enough to recognize me when I came home. It wasn't much at first. Paint scabbing off in the corners, a shower head that bleated like a dying goat, an oven from 1994 that preheated slower than my parents' empathy. But I loved it. I loved sanding the floors at midnight and tiling the kitchen on Saturdays, and binge learning from YouTube until my thumbs went numb. Reddit taught me how to stop a pinhole leak in the roof. Coffee kept me upright while the patch cured. Room by room, it began to glow. My parents never visited. Not once. They never even asked for a picture. Ava did. "Are you renting the place out or sitting on it?" she texted, all sugar over teeth. "Living in it," I replied. "Why?" She left me on red. That was her move. Probe, pivot, profit. If she wanted something, she already considered it an heirloom. 2 years later, I sold the house. Not because I was drowning, because a tech firm I'd been consulting for offered me a remote role based in Madrid. Good pay, better perks, and something simple I hadn't had in years, a reset. I sold privately to a local investor named Mark, single dad, decent pause before he answered questions, the kind of man who listens to learn. No listing, no open house, clean papers, clean handshake, clean exhale. I packed a single suitcase and left. No goodbye dinner, no family toast, no Instagram brag. Why perform for people who never clapped? Madrid had a way of loosening a person's jaw. Streets that asked you to walk slower, stone that remembered centuries. I drank espresso on a tiny balcony and learned Spanish by saying the wrong words with the right smile. I slept through mornings for the first time since high school and woke up without an alarm made of other people's emergencies. Silence was new. Silence was holy. The buzzing started small. A text from Ava. "Hey, random question. Did you ever fix that espresso machine at your place?" Me. "Yeah. Why?" Ava. "No reason. Wondering if it's worth the same model." My brain scratched, but my heart shrugged. Then, "Mom, do you still use the alarm system?" Me. "What?" No answer. Just dust. By sunset, a name I hadn't seen in 2 years lit my screen. Mrs. Henderson, the neighbor whose zucchini muffins could bruise your gums. "Hi, sweetie. Are you back in town? Saw someone pull into your driveway today." Me. "Nope. Still in Madrid." Mrs. Henderson. "Oh, they used a key. Thought maybe you rented it out." My breath tripped. I scrolled my notes app to a line I'd written ages ago. Keys made. Mom, 1. Mine, 2. A tiny Mercy's became a liability. I'd left a copy with my mother for emergencies. Apparently, emergencies now included Ava's shopping list. I FaceTimed Mark. No answer. Reasonable. The man had a life I was not the center of. I stared at the screen long enough for my espresso to cool. My phone pinged again. Ava. "Can you Venmo me $200 real quick? Long story, LOL." Me. "Are you in my old house right now?" 3 dots. Vanish. 3 dots. Ava. Chill. Mom said it was fine. Me. I don't own it anymore. You're trespassing. Silence. The kind that plays dumb. An hour later, Mrs. Henderson sent a photo. Ava sitting on the front steps, sunglasses, latte, arms folded like a queen who forgot her kingdom's paperwork. A man in a navy button-up stood over her, posture polite but implacable. The zoom wasn't great, but the stance was unmistakable. Mark. I didn't call. I didn't text. I let the sun go down over Madrid and imagined the scene frame by frame. Ava declaring. Mark explaining. Reality doing that slow, brutal work it does when someone tries to rename it. 12 hours passed. Then my mother's voicemail arrived. Sticky sweet. Hey, sweetheart. Little misunderstanding. Ava's had a tough month. We thought she could use the space while her place is getting sorted. No one meant to cross lines. Misunderstanding. Like a Lysol wipe on a crime scene. No mention of deeds or dates or owners. Just tone. A white flag stitched from the same fabric as every be the bigger person lecture I grew up under. Ava texted in flurries. Can we talk now? It's not what it looks like. Mom said it was okay. I didn't know it was sold. You should have told me. That's on you. There it was. The pivot. Not I broke in. Not I used a key I shouldn't have. The problem somehow was my failure to manage her expectations. Childhood revisited. She'd take my hoodie, my saved birthday money, my seat in the car. When I objected, I was dramatic for having needs. I sent one message. Talk to Mark. He owns it now. 3 seconds. Who the hell is Mark? Is this a joke? Why would you sell? Don't you care that I'm literally out on the street? I nearly laughed espresso through my nose. Out on the street, with a designer latte in a stranger's house. By morning, a voicemail from Mark. Hey, quick update. Your sister left. I didn't call the cops, but it got tense. She said she had permission. I asked her to go. Locks are changed. Place is fine. The relief was a physical thing, like untying a knot behind your heart. But the story didn't end. It never does with families who valorize appearances. My father, a man of few calls, left a message. We need to talk about your behavior. My behavior. I posted a private story, coffee and a croissant, captioned, Funny how boundaries only matter when you cross them. Within minutes, my cousin Noah texted, Yo, what did you do? Family chat is melting down. Apparently, I was still in the family chat. I scrolled. Ava's open letter about betrayal, Mom's sigh about me being too private, Dad's thumbs up to grief theater. Accountability, 0, optics 10. I could have written a novella. Instead, I waited. Mark sent the doorbell footage. The audio was crisp, the angle merciless. Ava unlocking a door that wasn't mine anymore, stepping into a world she assumed would arrange itself around her. Mark's voice steady, Ava's hands on hips, the paper deed held up like sunlight. You're trespassing. Don't be dramatic. The slam of a door that didn't change a single fact. I uploaded the clip to the family chat. Here's what happened. Then I turned off my phone and let the truth do what truth does when it finally gets a microphone. When I finally turned my phone back on, the notifications stacked like shingles. 64 messages in the family chat alone. The first one was from my dad. 3 words that carried the weight of a verdict. Not appropriate, Imogene. Then Aunt Carol, the family's self-appointed ombudsman. This could have been handled privately. Ava, of course, had a paragraph that began with, I can't believe, and ended with, cruel. A chorus of aunts hearted it like it was scripture. Noah broke the rhythm. She sold it. Ava, that house isn't ours and never was. He'd corrected the pronoun mid-text, and somehow that made the message feel even braver, an admission that the family story needed new grammar. I didn't answer them. I sent Mark's doorbell video instead. The thumbnail alone told a story. Ava's white SUV nosed up to the curb, her sunglasses reflecting the neighborhood like a mirrored lie. Tap. The footage widened. She approached the door with a drink tray and the careless grace of someone who has never been told no in a way that stuck. The key turned. The door swung in. 2 minutes later, Mark arrived, calm as a librarian interrupting a sleepover. Hi there, he said through the mic. Can I help you? This is my sister's house, Ava answered airily. I'm dropping by. Actually, I bought it 2 weeks ago. You didn't. She said it like negating reality had always worked for her. Mark raised the folded deed into frame, a quiet kind of authority. I did. You don't have to be dramatic, Ava said, which was the most dramatic thing she could have chosen. Then she tried the oldest spell in the book. Do you know how hard it's been for me lately? You're really going to throw me out today of all days. You broke into my home, Mark said. Using a key doesn't make it legal. A slam, the door, the end. I attached the clip to the family chat with 4 words, for clarity and context. Then I put the phone face down and watched the Madrid light creep off my balcony railing like a slow tide. My hands were steady. My heartbeat was not. When I looked again, the chat was chaos. Aunts backpedaling, uncles suddenly quiet. Dad sent, still not necessary, which meant the truth had been inconvenient to the preferred narrative. Mom messaged me privately. Sweetheart, why are you doing this? You're tearing the family apart. I typed and erased 3 replies before I landed on one. I didn't tear anything. I turned on the light. Ava pivoted to the public stage. A black screen Instagram story with white text. Some people would rather humiliate family than help them. Then a carousel. A photo of herself looking artfully devastated. A blurry picture of my old house. A screenshot of a search for, "Can your sibling kick you out of a house?" The caption, "Been through the worst week. Betrayal, loss, and silence from those I trusted." Comments bloomed like algae. You don't deserve this, queen. Blood is forever. Family first. Family first, I said out loud to the empty apartment, and felt something in me finally say back, not like this. Mark texted, succinct as always, "For your records." He'd exported a higher res version of the doorbell clip. I saved it in a folder marked boundaries and labeled the file with the date, like I was archiving a weather event. By evening, Ava went live. I made the mistake of watching. Real tears or glycerin, I couldn't tell. It's just been so hard, she sniffled, to have your own sister treat you like a stranger. I only needed a place for one night. Now I'm being painted as a criminal. In the comments, hearts flurried. We love you. Stay strong. Then Noah appeared like a pebble, thrown through static. He typed, You had a key from Mom. You used it at a house Imogene no longer owned. There's footage. The stream stuttered. Ava blinked as if she'd been splashed. Some people love to stir the pot, she said, which was not a rebuttal. The live cut out within minutes. Connection lost, or maybe story control lost first. Noah texted me after. You okay? Oddly, yes. Proud of you. I stared at those 3 words longer than Dad's earlier message. It's amazing what the right kind of love can repair, and what the wrong kind can rot. The family chat went quiet for a bit, the hush that follows a siren. Then Mom surfaced. We didn't know you sold, Imogene. You didn't ask, I replied. We thought it was still ours. It never was. I added a period and let it sit there like a brick. That night, I walked Madrid alone. The honeyed lamps, the murmur of late dinners, the soft clatter of plates from balconies like tiny playhouses. I tried to let the city rinse me. For years, I'd been the buffer, the fixer, the one who called restaurants to smooth over someone else's tantrum. If you keep absorbing impact, people stop noticing they're the ones hitting you. And maybe you stop noticing too. Back at the apartment, I opened the door with my own key. Simple, silver, honest. And I felt the smallest spark of something I hadn't allowed. Pride without witnesses. I boiled pasta. I watched steam ghost the window. I turned my phone over and found a new voicemail. My father again, a man who hates leaving second messages. Call me. We need to talk about your behavior. The word "your" hung like a hook. I set the phone down. The next morning, I woke to another message from Mark. She's blocked. Locks changed. If anyone contacts you again about the property, send them to me. I exhaled. A good boundary is a door that closes without slamming. By lunch, Ava tried a new angle, texting me directly with the tone of someone who just remembered she could sound reasonable. Okay, can we please talk? It's not what it looks like. Mom said it was okay. I didn't know it was sold. You should have told me. Her cadence had always been the same. Claim innocence, cite Mom, confess ignorance, assign blame. I typed, talk to Mark. Then I added, because it felt like a line I needed to hear in my own voice, Do not use my key again for any property, ever. She sent a photo in response, flowers on a sidewalk bench, a caption. Some people would rather have peace than people. No likes. The algorithm must have sensed fatigue. In the late afternoon, Mrs. Henderson pinged me. Just wanted to say I'm sorry for the trouble. Should have asked questions sooner. I thanked her and pictured those terrible muffins. I wondered if this was how cycles end, not with an apology from the center, but with small corrections on the edges. Neighbors learning, cousins stepping forward, you choosing not to hand out spare keys to your own undoing. I opened my laptop to work and found myself writing a list titled, What Changes Now? No shared security codes. No explaining decisions that require no explanation. A key ring with only keys that belong to me. Beside number 3, I drew a tiny lock and shaded it in. That evening, the family chat revived itself like a sitcom in syndication. Aunt Carol, we're family. We should extend grace. Uncle Gerald, everyone makes mistakes. Dad, private matters should stay private. Noah, private matters stop being private when someone trespasses. Silence followed, the useful kind. I sent nothing. The archive feature beckoned like a door I'd forgotten I could close. At midnight, a final message from Mom arrived. I don't know what's happened to you. You've changed. We raised you better than this. I stared at it until the words went blurry. Then I typed, That's what growth looks like. I set the phone face down again and listened to Madrid breathe. Somewhere on the street below, a couple laughed the way people laugh when they know they're safe with each other. The unhurried kind. I thought of the one person who knew exactly how to handle a door without slamming it. Lucas would have said, You don't owe anyone access to what you had to build alone. He wasn't in this part of the story yet. Not really, but the shape of him was. A gentle, immovable line. I turned off the lights. The apartment held me like a promise I finally kept to myself. 6 months later, Madrid had become rhythm, not novelty. The mornings hummed with scooters, the smell of espresso, and the steady comfort of someone sharing your quiet. Lucas, my boyfriend, had moved into my corner loft after we spent a year orbiting each other across continents. He worked remotely too, finance by trade, patience by instinct. He had that rare stillness that could calm a storm before it noticed itself. We'd learned to live without noise, no family emergencies in the group chat, no sudden guilt calls, no emotional bookkeeping, just grocery lists, weekend plans, and a cat we named Pixel, who thought boundaries were suggestions. Then, one Thursday afternoon, while I was out consulting at a small architecture firm, my phone buzzed with a FaceTime call from Lucas. His expression alone made my stomach drop. You're going to love this, he said, voice edged with disbelief. He flipped the camera toward the video intercom by the door. There she was, Ava. Sunglasses, arms crossed, hair loose and glossy, like a shampoo commercial. She held a bouquet of pale pink lilies and a practiced expression halfway between humility and control. Lucas whispered, She says she's your sister. I felt the temperature in the room tilt. What did she say exactly? She asked if you were home, said you probably wanted to see her. Did you tell her I wasn't? I did. He glanced back at the monitor. Want me to handle it? I nodded. Politely. Lucas smirked faintly. Always politely. He walked to the door and cracked it open just enough to show courtesy, not invitation. Ava blinked, surprised to find a man instead of her target. Hi, she said carefully. Hi, Lucas replied, his tone calm but unyielding. Can I help you? I'm looking for my sister. This is her place, right? No, Lucas said smoothly. She's not here. Ava gave a small, forced laugh. Oh, well, I'm not a stranger. I'm family. You must be her boyfriend. I am, he said, and you must be Ava. That threw her. The way he said her name, measured and knowing. So, I was hoping to just drop something off, Ava continued. I've been trying to reach her. Lucas tilted his head. She saw the live, and the posts, and the story about being homeless while holding a $7 iced latte. Ava's smile faltered. That's not fair. It's factual. His voice didn't rise. She's not interested in replays, Ava. Wow, she said, letting the words stretch with mock surprise. I see she has a type. Lucas didn't flinch. Someone with boundaries? He asked gently. That landed. Her eyes hardened. Look, this doesn't concern you. You don't know our family. You're right, he said. I don't. But I know what manipulation sounds like. and I know what it looks like when someone's finally free from it. Ava stood there, blinking behind her sunglasses, like she hadn't prepared for a version of this scene where charm didn't work. Lucas stepped forward just enough for the air to shift. You can leave the flowers or take them with you. Either way, the door's closing. Her throat bobbed once, then she bent down, set the bouquet on the welcome mat, and whispered, "Tell her I tried." "Tell yourself that," Lucas said quietly, and closed the door. No slam, no insult, just finality. When he called me back, I was halfway down a cobblestone street near the office. "It's done," he said. "What did you do?" "I was polite," he said, as requested. I laughed, the sound coming out shaky and new. "Remind me never to get on your bad side." He smiled. "You'll be fine. You take the trash out." That night, we made pasta, poured wine, and watched the city turn gold outside our window. Lucas stirred sauce while I leaned on the counter and let the silence wrap around me like armor. For years, I had chased peace like it was a person I'd wronged. Tonight, it sat across the table and smiled back. Still, the next morning brought one more echo from the past. Ava posted on Instagram again. The same bouquet, now sitting on a park bench, petals already wilting. The caption, "Some people would rather have peace than people. I hope it keeps them warm." No likes, not one. Even the algorithm was exhausted. That post marked the end of the noise. The family chat went dormant. Mom didn't text. Dad didn't call. Even Aunt Carol found something else to police. The quiet didn't scare me this time. It felt earned. Months passed. Work flourished. Lucas and I rearranged the kitchen 3 times and compromised on exactly nothing about coffee beans. I started sleeping through the night without checking my phone for emotional explosions. One Saturday, I opened my mailbox downstairs and found a padded envelope, beat up, addressed in looping cursive that spelled my name right for the first time in years. No return address. 3 stamps like someone wanted to be sure it reached me. I hesitated, then took it upstairs. Lucas was on a call in the other room. I slid a butter knife under the seal. Inside, a Polaroid and a note. The photo showed my old front porch, the one Ava had trespassed into, latte in hand. But this picture was older. Golden hour light. Ava sitting barefoot on the steps, hair tied up, holding a mug and a book. Whoever took it wasn't her. I flipped it over, in uneven handwriting. "Home is where people wait for you." The note beneath said, "I know I messed up. I know I don't deserve anything. But I wanted you to see I didn't take that place for granted. Not the way you think." I sat on the couch, the Polaroid heavy in my palm. It wasn't an apology. It was nostalgia with perfume. Half guilt, half performance. But it still hit somewhere deep. That old reflex to fix, to forgive, to respond. Lucas came out, saw the envelope, and raised an eyebrow. "She sent something?" "Yeah," I said. "A picture and a guilt sandwich." He sat beside me, eyes warm but unwavering. "You okay?" "Yeah, just tired." He waited a beat, then said, "You don't owe her closure. You gave her the truth. What she does with it isn't your responsibility." The words landed like a soft hammer, because for the first time, someone wasn't asking me to be better for other people, just to be done for myself. I placed the Polaroid in a drawer, not to keep it safe, to let it rest. The following week, Noah showed up in Madrid on a business trip. We met at a cafe, the kind where time forgets to pass. "You still hearing from the family?" he asked. "Not really. Ava sent a picture." He sipped his coffee. "Of what?" "Her on the old porch. Sad face, note attached." He grinned. "Ah, the emotional rebrand." "You think she's really changed?" I asked. He held my gaze. "Does it matter?" "Fair point." He added, "You moved on. She sent a picture. Only one of those things has a mortgage attached." I laughed. "Touché." Back home, I opened the drawer again, looked at the Polaroid one last time, and tore it neatly in half. The sound was small, but absolute. I dropped it into the bin and exhaled. Some pictures don't belong in frames. They belong in the past. It was an ordinary Wednesday when the doorbell rang. Not a holiday, not my birthday, not one of those just checking in days my mother favored. When she wanted to reset without saying sorry. I was making coffee. The smell of toasted almond beans filled the loft. Through the peephole, I saw them. My parents, standing stiffly on the welcome mat like they were waiting for a dentist appointment. Lucas wasn't home. For once, it was just me. I opened the door halfway. "Hey," my mom said softly, voice light, rehearsed. We were in the area. My dad gave a tight nod, hands crossed, like he was bracing for impact. I leaned against the frame. "Sure." The silence that followed stretched, brittle but familiar. My mom's eyes flicked down, then up again. "We heard Ava sent you something," she said carefully. I said nothing. "She's trying," my mom continued. "She's in therapy now." I nodded once. Good for her. My father shifted, clearing his throat. "We didn't come here to argue, just to talk." "You are talking," I said quietly. That threw them both. My mother rummaged through her purse like it contained the right line for the moment. She pulled out a small envelope and held it out to me. I didn't take it. "What's that?" "Just a letter," she said. "From all of us. Ava, too. We've been reflecting." I studied her face, the careful gentleness, the same tone she used when she wanted me to set down my anger before she acknowledged it existed. "You mean the part where you gave Ava a key to a house I didn't live in anymore?" I asked. Her face tightened. "We didn't know you sold it." "But you didn't ask." My dad opened his mouth, probably to deliver another round of "we meant well," but I cut him off. "Let me guess. You thought it'd be fine, that I'd go along, like I always did." They were quiet now. For once, they didn't have a script. And it hit me. They hadn't come to repair anything. They'd come to reset the story. A last-ditch attempt to fold the truth into something polite enough to keep in a family album. I looked at the envelope again, still hovering between us. "You came here thinking I'd open the door," I said. "But you didn't ask if you were still welcome." My mom flinched. "You didn't just betray my trust," I continued, my voice steady. "You used it like a spare key. And when the lock changed, you acted like I was the one being cruel." The silence was sharp enough to cut. Finally, my father exhaled. "We didn't come to fight." "I know," I said. "You came to feel better." He blinked, startled. "Is that unfair?" "No," I said, "but it's not my job." Mom took a small step forward, still holding the letter out like a peace offering that weighed nothing and everything. "Please just read it." I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't the villain I'd built in my head. She was just a woman who had spent her life avoiding messes by pretending they were misunderstandings. The woman who told me to be the bigger person while applauding Ava for expressing herself. And I was done being the rope in a tug-of-war no one asked to end. So I took the envelope, not to open it, to return it. "I'll be right back," I said, stepping inside. When I came back, I held something else, a small silver key, the spare to my current apartment, the one no one else had ever copied. I placed it gently on top of the envelope and handed both to my mother. Her eyes flicked down, confused. "What's this?" I smiled. Calm, not cold. "You gave Ava the key. Here's the lock." Then I closed the door. No slam, no raised voice. Just the kind of quiet I used to mistake for loneliness, now recognized as peace. Behind the door, I could hear my mother's faint exhale, the soft shuffle of their retreat down the hallway. No tears, no final words. Just the sound of distance being measured in footsteps instead of guilt. Inside, the loft felt different. Not emptier, just cleaner. I walked back to the kitchen. The coffee had gone cold, but I didn't mind. I poured it out, washed the mug, and let the warm water run over my hands until the tremor of old habits disappeared. Lucas came home a few hours later. He noticed the envelope on the counter, unopened, left behind. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said. "They stopped by." He waited for more, but I didn't add anything, because there was nothing left to explain. He nodded once, the way he did when he understood something wordless. Then he came over, brushed a thumb across my cheek, and said, "You look lighter." "I am," I whispered. That night, the city outside our window glowed with quiet windows and distant laughter. We cooked dinner, listened to the rain begin, and let it fill the silence. No noise, no keys I hadn't given, no apologies disguised as letters. Just peace. The kind you don't earn by being good, but by finally being done.